Hi guys, I'm Wombat. This video has been sponsored by Tobii. This is a package. Let's get the video started. Tobii is a company I'm guessing most of you probably already heard of, because SCS have implemented support for their eye tracking devices in both ETS2 and ATS since version 1.35. And today I'm gonna review it and I'm gonna show you all its pros and cons, as well as compare it just a little bit at least with the head tracking device I already have. But we start with the package itself. Let's see what it contains. I've opened quite a few boxes in my days, and this box doesn't lie. There isn't any room inside this box for anything but the product itself. And it's therefore also pleasingly free from bubble plastics and foam peanuts and other loose filling packaging material, which is good news for the environment. So I guess both Greta and myself thank you for that, Tobii. Excellent job on the packaging. And inside the product box we find the Tobii Eyetracker 4C itself, measuring only 17 by 15 by 335 millimeter in size. Unfortunately, the attached USB 2 cable is only 80 centimeters long, so it's a bit on the short side if I'm honest. Fortunately, there is an extension cable, another 1 meter, which gives you a total of 1.8 meters, but still the total is a little bit too short for my liking. They're both also surprisingly stiff, so let's see how that works. In addition to that, we have some paperwork. We have the warranty, safety and compliance papers. We're not going to use any of those. And of course we have the installation guides, but that is for weaklings, so I'm going to throw that away. And then we have a couple of mounting brackets, which I'm grateful for. We only need one, so sending us two gives us one to spare. Let's wrap it up and mount it. So the bracket is held in place using magnets like this, which makes the mounting very easy. You just remove the tape protection here and then put it hopefully straight underneath your monitor and add the Tobii Eyetracker like this. There we go. And then you plug it into your PC. That's how simple it is. Well, maybe, just maybe, you don't have to throw away all the instructions, because there is one thing you need there, and that is the address www.tobii.com/getstarted. This is where you download the software for this device. And as you probably already guessed when you're looking at this page, is that Tobii is built into several different types of hardware, but we are using the standalone Tobii Eyetracker, so we're downloading the software for that. And while that is going, we're going to take a look at the other two softwares that you can add. One of them being the Tobii Ghost, which most of you won't have any use for. It is mainly aimed at people like me, streamers, who want to show their viewers where they are looking while they are streaming. This one though, the Tobii Game Hub, on the other hand, is the software you want to use if you want to use the Tobii Eyetracker with additional games and not only just ETS2 and ATS. And we're going to take a look at that later on. Installing the software is very easy. You just have to close your eyes and agree to the licensing agreements, and then you allow the application to make changes to your PC, and then it's installed. Install the software takes about a minute. I've sped it up a little bit. It's boring to look at. Once it has completed, you will automatically be prompted to update the firmware for your Eyetracker. This also takes less than a minute, but I sped it up. It's boring to look at. And once that has been completed, you start the process of configuring and calibrating your device. The first step here is just a matter of determine how large your monitor is compared to the Eyetracker itself. So there are a couple of white markers on the Eyetracker, and you align them with these two lines here. And there goes the first one, there's the other one, and that's it. So the first step of calibration is to just verify that you can see your eyes on the screen. And there I am. And then we start calibrating, and the way you do that is that you look at dots until they explode like that. I'm going to start with the one up in the middle and down to the right, down to the left, and then again, this time down and up to the left, up to the right, and calibration has been completed. You're also prompted to name your calibration profile, because you can have different profiles for different family members, and even if you are using glasses sometimes and sometimes contact lenses, for instance, you can have different profiles for that as well. But let's fire up ETS2 and see what it looks like in game. And just a quick reminder as my profile loads up, this procedure is the same regardless of whether you are using ETS2 or ATS. So let's configure the Eyetracker for ETS2. It's the very same way you do it on ATS. Options, controls, scroll all the way down, and here it is, the button we've all seen. I've never been able to press it, but now, and configure. So, enable extended view. Head tracking mode, direct or dynamic. We're gonna use, let's see, your gaze will only affect your in-game camera when you actually turn your head. Yeah, we're gonna go with dynamic. I'm not gonna auto center, but my head's position affects the in-game camera position. Yeah, I'm gonna do that because I want to be able to move my head slightly sideways and backwards, forward. So I'm gonna add that. But rolling, no. That just makes everyone who's watching seasick if I roll my head from side to side. And I'm gonna go with the defaults to begin with, just to see how that works. I'm not sure I like that curve, but yeah, let's do that. I definitely don't like that curve. It's probably not gonna be great, but let's give it a try, see what happens. So I'm trying to sit very still. I'm trying to not move much, I'm moving my eyes only. Looking up, and now I'm gonna look down. Now I'm gonna look to the left corner, left middle, left up. Right up, right middle, even further to the right. Now I'm actually looking outside the screen, which isn't optimal, and down to the right. I need to just adjust that a little bit. Let's try to drive, see how that works. It needs some adjustments, that's for sure, but that is definitely to be expected. My head tracking device that I was using, that have been using so far, took me quite a while to fine-tune that. So I'm honest to God, I'm quite surprised to see that it's working so relatively well already with just the default settings. So, here's the situation, guys. I've spent about 30 minutes now going back and forth between the game and the settings. And this is the result so far. Now I gotta say, this is not perfect. This is not exactly how I want it. But again, I've spent 30 minutes working on this. And I expect that I'm gonna need another 2 hours to perfect it. That has to be set into perspective. My head tracking device uses the same open source software and therefore also configuration that most head trackers use. And that took me 2 months. I ain't joking. It took me 2 months to configure that to work exactly how I wanted it to. That was of course not me sitting 8 hours a day configuring it, going back and forth between the settings and the game. That was me doing some tweaks, fine adjustments every time I played the game. And I'm very, very pleased with the results after those 2 months. But of course, that was 2 months and a lot of hours. And with this one, it's been 30 minutes so far. And I'm pretty confident I'm gonna be able to complete this in just a couple of hours. And then have it perfected the way I want it to. So it's been a week or so since I did my initial testing of this device. Since then I've used it for a lot of trucking and I have spent around 2 hours or so getting this one up and running. And this is the result, which I'm very, very pleased with. But even though I'm very pleased with it, it doesn't mean that there aren't issues. And I've been struggling a bit with these issues because I'm not only a trucker, if I may say so. I'm probably not even your typical trucker when I'm only trucking either, because I love doing, I don't know, extreme trucking perhaps. Special transport, yeah, that's cool, but it's not extreme. Extreme would be road trains and ultra-wide, ultra-long, ultra-heavy stuff with underpowered trucks. Mission Impossible, basically. I love that kind of stuff. It's not the only thing I do, but I do that. I tend to do that a lot. And of course, on top of that, I like to do that stuff on serpentine roads, which has its own challenges. And obviously then I'm also a YouTuber, which brings its own unique problems. But I'm gonna go through the problems first here, even though it is from a YouTuber or streamer's perspective. First problem is, well, if you're doing very long trailers, like I did the other day, where I hauled on EAA using double Brazilian trailers, which is 30 meters of trailers. I was going through a lot of hairpins, and from a streamer's perspective, that is challenging when you want to keep the head movements to a minimum, and at the same time need to look at the side mirrors and at the road in front of you. And that isn't really possible when you are using eye tracking, because of course the camera movements follow your eyes. So you look in the mirrors, your camera follows you there, and then you go back to looking at the road ahead of you, and then back to the mirrors, back and forth quite a lot through hairpins. And don't misunderstand me here, because I see no problem having the camera moving back and forth if it's just me and the PC and no one is watching. But as a viewer, it is annoying to look at if the one you're watching streaming moves his head back and forth all the time. So I, as a YouTuber or streamer, have to take that into consideration. But it's probably not a problem for most people anyway. The other situation is truly unique to streamers, and that is I have to look at the screen and see where I'm holding, take into consideration that people are watching, so they want me to keep my head relatively still, and at the same time I need to look around at other things like the chat, for instance, possibly also look at the streaming quality, looking at OBS, things like that, things you normally wouldn't worry about at all. And of course, for streaming I can then pause the eye tracking, but at least I personally tend to do a lot of back and forth between OBS, the chat and the gaming screen, so that's going to be a lot of pausing. But it is a problem that is strictly unique to streamers. And that is the only two problems I've found with the Eyetracker 4C. If you look at the pros instead, the first thing is the device you don't need, the head tracker you have to put somewhere on your head. In my case I put it on my headphones. In other cases it's camouflaged as a trucker's hat, or you have some other kind of device somewhere on your head that registers your movements. There is none of that when you use the Eyetracker 4C, which brings another positive side effect, which is that you won't have to worry about your juice running low on the device you have on your hat, because there is no device that could run out of juice. So that is very much on the pro side, especially since, going back to myself being a streamer again, I quite often find myself in situations where I'm streaming for more than 5 or 6 hours, and in that case my head tracking device runs out of juice, which means that all of a sudden my head stops moving. I don't have to worry about that at all using Eyetracker 4C. Another fantastic thing about the 4C is that you don't have to worry about light coming in from behind. My gaming room has huge windows behind where I'm sitting, so when the sunlight shines directly into the window, my head tracking device doesn't work because the light interferes with the tracking device. And using the 4C, light isn't really an issue whatever your lighting conditions are. And finally, going back to the fact that I do not have any tracking devices to deal with, as I said earlier, the tracking device that I use is mounted on my headphones. Using the Eyetracker 4C, I'm free to use whatever headphones I want, or if I want to, I could use speakers even. It doesn't matter. I don't have any tracker device to consider when I'm choosing what kind of source I want to use for the sound. So from a normal, if I may say so, ETS2 or ATS trucker's perspective, I find the Eyetracker 4C to be on par or even superior to other tracking devices. Which leads us to other games, because I was very specific there when I said this is superior for truck simulators. Other games, well, there isn't that much support. So if you play a lot of other games where you consider using head or eye tracking, make sure you check out the Tobii webpage and verified that Tobii do have support for the games that you want to use head or eye tracking for. Now, Tobii do have support for a lot of the most popular games as of 2020, but it is still something that is considerably lower, counting the number of titles that Tobii support compared to head trackers in general. But if you are a regular or normal ETS2 and or ATS simmer, you can't go wrong using the Eyetracker 4C by Tobii. This leads us to the pricing situation for the Eyetracker 4C, and it is priced similar to the most popular head tracker on the market, though if you choose to use the promo code Wombat when you order this device, you will get 20% off the price for the Eyetracker 4C. And if that sounds interesting, and it should, there is a link to both the device and to the promo code as well in the video description, together with a thread on the SCS forum where I and others are sharing our settings for our Tobii devices. So make sure that you check out that as well once you get your device. And with that said, I want to thank you sincerely for watching this entire video, despite going on 22 minutes now, or very soon at least. Thank you very much for watching the video. I want to thank Tobii for sending me the Eyetracker 4C. Check out the video description where you find all the links that you need. And till next time, take care everyone. Bye bye.